Okay, welcome back to the Applied Imperative podcast, the show where we dive into the stories and strategies shaping industry, technology, and leadership. Today's guest is someone I'm really excited to welcome to the show. He sits at the intersection of innovation and execution, and I'm joined by Barry Chapman, who is Vice President and General Manager of US Industries at Siemens Digital Industries Software. In this episode, we'll explore Barry's perspective on the industry in general, the application of Siemens technology, where things are going. We'll touch on AI and all sorts of other nice areas. And so whether you're in the tech world, leading digital initiatives, or just curious about the next wave of industrial software and where it's headed, this is the conversation for you. So Barry, thanks very much for joining me at Realize Live this week.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Awesome. So how's your experience been so far? So we're a day or so into it. I heard it's the biggest Realize Live show ever. And so how's your experience been so far?
It's been great. You know, there's a book called Positive Energizers. And there's so much positive energy here. It's no matter the presentations or just meeting with individuals, teams like yourself and those, it's just amazing how much positive energy there is, not only around the excitement of Siemens and what we're doing, just excitement of the industry, whether it's aerospace or automotive industry, just a lot of amazing positive energy, which I feel a lot. I love that stuff.
Yeah. We shot a couple of podcast episodes earlier today. It was all about nuclear industry and AI and where everything's going, and we were all saying this is like a species defining or changing event with all these technologies coming to the fore. So I totally resonate with your comments around the kind of positive energy there.
Yeah.
What are you excited about for the near future? There was a great presentation earlier today by Joe Bowman. What are you interested in terms of the Siemens portfolio and what the near future looks like?
Of course, everybody talks about AI, but that being said, I think it's what I'm excited about it is the foundation that's needed to make all these wonderful things that people dream about with AI available.
Right.
And so Joe's presentation this morning, talked about like configuration-driven build and BOM management. And to many, that's like a really, really boring conversation. It is. It's like the plumbing and no one really cares about it. But that being said, that technology, the ability to have a configuration-driven bill of material and all the data associated with the bill of material for any product, whether it's a cell phone, an aircraft, a car, is ultimately the enabler for everything that people want to do with AI. And if you can't interact with AI models, if you can't interact with the data in a way in which that data that you're interacting with is the exact and correct data, it's false. And those kind of things. So I get excited sometimes about there's great about the sexiness of some of the things you throw. But sometimes the plumbing gets excited too. And right, that plumbing that's behind the scenes is something that's so critical. And people who know the details of how you're going to make all these things real, the industrial metaverse, how you're going to use AI tools more, agentic AI, know that the foundation of it is really having configuration-driven data management.
Right. Yeah, that's a great response. Thank you. You cover a lot of different industries. Your remit is very broad, and I know you're very busy, running around all these different customers and looking at the state of the industry and how to apply technology for it. Do you have some favorites? Maybe it's a bit of an unfair question to put you on the spot. Do you have some favorite customers, favorite applications of the software that Siemens sell and develop and deploy, or is it too difficult to say?
Well, you talk about like running around. Like I didn't realize how many calories I'm gonna lose, like just going from different places around. So I am running around a lot. Favorites, like if it's favorites about software, I think about favorites about what our customers are doing.
Right.
So I always say I love all my customers the same.
Right.
But I will say, like the first customer I ultimately worked with as a salesperson in aerospace events was Northrop Grumman. And if you were at the keynote tonight with Northrop Grumman, was that not awesome? I mean, to see like their digital aircraft that they produce, they brought it to fruition quickly and real. And then when you see the things that they do, whether it's a mechanical design with simulation, whether it's the integration of electronics, or it's the ability to take that data, as I mentioned before, that configuration-driven data, and share it with the customer, whether it's the Navy or the Army or the Air Force. That's pretty exciting. And that technology that's available is awesome. Commonwealth Fusion spoke the other day. Amazing story of something that's enormously complex.
Yes.
Right? So here you're trying to do something that's an enormously complex business. But I love the fact that they talked about the things that seem like so complex and so difficult are taking so many iterations to get to that sometimes take years. They said, well, it's not years. The iterations are going so fast now that they're producing at a level that they never thought they could. And then to see that they're going to stand up these power units, not only one, but they have plans for, thousands.
Right.
And it's really amazing. So the technology that is there that ultimately is going to enable that, whether it's a simulation, whether it's even talking about, construction management, those kind of things in the future they were asking about. It's really exciting. And then I also, of course, AI gets me excited, but once again, it's the delivering AI. And the Mendix platform to me is something that excites me when I work with customers because it brings data to people and how they want to use it.
Yeah.
And whether it's an enormous amount of data or just one little slice, to have a simple return. And I think of like Gulfstream, for example, using, the accelerator using Team Center for a visualization environment. And what they were doing is they said, just make it simple. I just need here's the part number.
Yep.
I just need to receive the visual representation of it on the floor. Just give it to me. And it's very simple. And I love the simplistic nature of that. Sometimes we over-engineer things. And with Team Center, Mendix, other applications, you can make things really simple.
Yeah, Mendix is a really big deal. I'm interested in learning more about that as well myself. We're in Detroit, Motor City. I actually started my career in automotive before I then spent the rest of the 25 years in aerospace.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Software-defined vehicles, it's all the rage. There's a lot of innovation happening in that space. Obviously, you're intimately involved, I'm sure, with a lot of automotive companies. Any insights, learnings, lessons learned, or anything from the automotive industry?
I think when we talk about the software-driven vehicle, and so many things, and Joe spoke about it, Tony spoke about it too, is software's embedded in everything we do, whether it's a rocket or whether it's a vehicle.
Right.
So software is just part of it. But I think what's changed is not only in vehicles, but a lot in aerospace also, is that the software is the product. The mechanical, the hardware around it, and you think of companies like Anduril and building those, they're building their product, a software connected product. They're building the delivery of that product, the mechanism, whether it's a stealth aircraft or whatever it may be, that you're building that product and you're delivering that software. I think in the automotive side, what I've learned is that how quickly things change.
Yes.
Think about where we were a year ago, the movements to EVs. All of a sudden you have in these turbulent times, you have the ability that you have tariffs, they pull back. You have a pullback from consumers on EVs. You have a lot of change in the automotive market as the infusion of the Chinese in the automotive market. And what that's caused is like automotive companies to pivot. Right, to pivot really quickly. And not only on their designs, but on their manufacturing, right? So now how do we stand up new lines? How do we go more ICE? How the consumer is requesting things that they didn't prepare for and they're switching. And so the ability for companies, the automotive companies, to be agile and to pivot not only in product development, but really around how to put new lines up in manufacturing is pretty exciting.
That's really fascinating, actually, yeah. And when you think about the autonomous future as well that's coming, and to your point, the software becomes the product and the shell and the casing around it, the vehicle is I don't want to say diminished, but it's less important than it used to be maybe. And so that's a really interesting shift. And like you said, the dynamism of the industry to be able to react to all these changes is really powerful.
And you used to, I mean, when we bought cars, and I still fall in love with cars.
Right.
And I fall in love with the exterior of the cars. But people buy now for the interior and the interaction, and it's just a changing dynamic and those kind of things. And so it's just the way it is. But I still, by the way, in my heart, I love the designs of the cars. I love they look at, how they feel, how they drive, those kind of things. But most of the consumers are buying because of the way it's connected to themselves. And the other thing is there were more recalls in cars in the last few. I guess there was a stat, I don't know the exact number, more recalls that they had, let's say in the last 5 years, than they had in the previous time of automotive.
Wow.
So the recalls are so high, but the recalls are high because a lot of those recalls are software driven.
Right.
And if you think about it, you can have a recall and your car is updated at night.
Over-the-air update. And
Right.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I'm going to fuse the next two questions into one, which is, I'm talking to all of the leaders here about AI. You've already mentioned it. It's obviously on everybody's mind. But I want to merge that with the stakes for people or companies that aren't looking at the Siemens portfolio, accelerator portfolio, adopting these methodologies, completing the digital thread, and or thinking about how AI might be applicable or leveraged in future. What do you see as the stakes? Is it kind of existential? If these companies aren't leaning into this and learning and adopting, they're going to be left behind? Or do you see it's something that you can sort of take your time with and build over time?
I don't think you should take your time and build over time. When I'm talking about don't take your time to build the knowledge over time. I think there was a quote I heard yesterday, which I liked, which was, ultimately, AI is not going to replace the workers. The workers who don't know AI will be replaced. Right. And those are the things you got to understand.
Yeah.
And so I'm reading a great book, by the way. It's the AI Driven Leader.
Okay.
And it really talks about how, as leaders, we all have to not only understand the language of AI, but as leaders, you have to be able to have applications that you're using, lead by example, be able to communicate. If you think about the language with AI, the language in AI is something that's taught. It's not only a different dialect, it's a different language.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to interact with it. And I think people that understand how to interact with it and speak with it are critical. If you think about, for an aircraft, by the way, if you're going to use AI for an autonomous vehicle, and that vehicle is going to be directed by a manned pilot, if you ever heard or listened to what an Air Force pilot says over there, you wouldn't be able to understand it. It's a completely different language.
Right.
But the AI models have to understand that language of the pilot to drive the autonomous vehicles, and that all has to be learned. And that was explained to me from an aerospace executive, and I thought the same thing. The AI models that we're dealing with, we have to learn too.
Yeah.
As leaders, you got to learn those, how you're interacting, how you interact with it, how you're questioning AI, how are you using the data, and we got to evolve there. So speed's key, but you got to do it quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to just touch quickly on tailwinds. I see a lot of tailwinds moving everything in this direction, whether it's the re-onshoring of critical high complexity manufacturing to the US, cloud and the migration to the cloud, AI for sure. Just there's so many different tailwinds pushing everything in this direction. And again, coming back to that sort of competitive advantage, and as you're mentioning, you've got to lean into some of these things. So, again, are you seeing anything out there that says, how American companies in particular, because I know you look after the US market, should be responding to all these dynamic changes and developing strategy around how to lean more heavily into these technologies?
Yeah. Are you a biker? Did we talk about it? Yeah, we talked about it. So I think of biking a lot in business.
Yeah.
And that you can go out for a ride, and it's a beautiful sunny morning, and all of a sudden you go out, and the wind is either stagnant or it's at your back, and it's a beautiful ride. And real quickly, you make a turn or the weather changes, and all of a sudden you're into a headwind that you didn't expect, right? And all of a sudden it took a nice ride and it made it really quickly miserable, right? And the weather changes, right? And I think about that in business. I mean, I talked about positive energy here. There's a lot of positive energy. That's a tailwind, right? It's a lot going on. And I think a lot of people are excited about what you can do with technologies and the opportunities you have and what's going on in the world. The headwinds become things that you just don't expect. The whole world around tariffs right now, that's a headwind, right? That you got hit with, right? The whole change on EV markets, on those kind of things, consumer buying, that's a headwind. I think there's a lot of kind of headwinds that you have to deal with, and sometimes they come out of nowhere, right? And so you have to address it. I think companies that are leveraging technology to be more flexible, to be able to change and to adapt when you have those headwinds are the ones that adjust. And I go back to the Northrop Grumman presentation this morning, how they have to adapt to their customers' requirements, ultimately, they have to quickly adapt in many cases, right? So I think the earliest and the faster you can adapt to those headwinds, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, the nimbleness, adaptability, absolutely crucial. Well, Barry, I know you're a very busy person. You've got a lot of people to see here. I really want to thank you for spending the time with us, and enjoy the rest of your life.
It was awesome. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it was great. Thanks. Yeah.